it a waste of time to train certain muscle groups? Hi guys, how are you doing today? I was watching an episode of the Revive Stronger podcast last week, and they were discussing something that really rubbed me the wrong way. I'm paraphrasing here, but it went along the lines of forearms are all genetic anyway, it's a waste of time to train them, you don't waste your time doing it. And I thought that completely discounted the art of bodybuilding, the personal part of it, that people have their own priorities and goals on. Me personally, my arms have always been really long, and as such they've been a weak point because my body has been like more torso dominant, and my arms have always looked skinny because of that. So for me, my priorities are growing my arms at the minute, because it's such a personal thing now. I dislike about the way my physique has looked. Included in that, like, arm growth is forearms, because they're like one of the most visible muscles. Like, so the bang for buck you get on looking jacked in terms of jacked forearms is huge. I found this mindset quite weird because you always see people doing specialization phases, and especially like in the Revive Stronger sort of stratosphere, or like, I don't know, peer group, their like specialization phases are something I've heard them talk about regularly before. And if you think about it, like, what is a specialization phase? It's you putting sort of extra effort, focus and time into growing a weaker body part that's more stubborn. This might ring a few bells about how people usually talk about forearms, but for some reason the attitude is different. They treat the certain muscle groups, maybe lats, people always talk about having lagged lats or something like that. They treat that completely different to how they would treat the smaller muscle groups that aren't necessarily like the focus on a bodybuilding stage, but like, yeah, that's not, majority of lifters aren't like ever going to go onto a bodybuilding stage. So they treat, like, say, neck, forearms and even arms to an extent as like sort of an afterthought, where they don't put the emphasis on it that I don't know if recreational lifter is the word, but just a lifter who has no intention of competing in bodybuilding, even though you live the lifestyle and train that way. Again, like, I think it comes, like, it's sort of a mindset thing or like an attitude thing around lifting that is like causing this weird focus on like not placing importance on forearms or neck, or like too prominent, and I'll include arms as a whole again. But I don't know whether it's like the sort of leakage, let's say, of a powerlifting mindset that's like affected fitness completely. Is that something like basement bodybuilding talks about all the time, is you just do the big tree or do big heavy compounds, forget about the isolation. They're like not the focus. They're not where the big bang for your buck is gonna be. But yeah, I think maybe it's just the underlying bias that has like affected fitness because of that. And then there's also sort of this scientific mindset and obsession that sort of peer group and interest group has, that sort of, I think it sort of makes them forget like the personal aspects of bodybuilding when they're focused on like making things, like, obviously, like, they're not all focused on like being optimal and everything, but like these optimal technique cyborgs come from somewhere. They're like getting the drip down of like information and mindset from the communicators, who are like people like Dr. Mike and Revive Stronger, who, it's not like they're not doing anything bad, but the interpretation that a lot of people have like leads them to, you know, the technique cyborg, only optimal iliac lat pull down type of thing, and they sort of get lost in the weeds of chasing certain things instead of, oh, why do you lift? What is your goal in lifting? What is your goal physique? I think in general, like the Dr. Mike and Revive Stronger, like sort of science-based crowd do like have a net benefit on lifting as a whole, who before this was infected with like more of a powerlifting mindset, as I said, but there are people who take the interpretations too far in the wrong way, aka Technique Cyborg video. But overall I think they're a net benefit, and I do like a lot of their content. It's entertaining and interesting for a lot of people who are into lifting. A lot of people can probably take something from it, even if you're not going to directly put into action what they do, but like there's aspects that you could take that could improve your own lifting and improve things you do in your life as well. So I do like something I do agree a lot with natural hypertrophy on is like you should not necessarily like have a goal body or ideal physique that you want, but like you should have the like aspects of your physique like that you want, or like that is your goal in your head. So like for me, bigger arms are what I want for my ideal physique. So it's going back to basement bodybuilding, it's like your program should be a reverse engineered and constructed in a way that backwards from your priorities and your goal physique. Me, I want to prioritize my arms, I want to grow my arms, so I put a really heavy focus on them. I'm currently training a body part split where I do chest and back on first day, shoulders and arms second day, putting heavy focus on the arms. It's majority arm focus day. Next day legs, then repeat. Yeah, I think a lot of people just ignore that aspect of it, and you have to be optimal about everything. You have to train muscle groups twice a week, and it's like, what if I don't want optimal growth in a certain muscle group? What if I don't want to maximize the growth in my legs? I personally don't like the massive legs look, like the X-frame that's sort of perpetuated from like professional like IFBB bodybuilders. I prefer more of like the silver era where it's actually a V taper all the way down, not the like V X-frame. So for me, like I don't want to do like ridiculous amounts of volumes for my lower body. I don't want to maximize the growth from my lower body, because I don't want huge quads. And obviously some people are going to say like, oh yeah, you're natural anyway, like you're not going to get huge quads. But like if I'm training for 10 years, like the focus I put on a body, 10-15 years, like the focus you put on a body part, it will, like the resulting physique will be determined by what you put in. So if you're training less volume on your legs over 10-15 years, the end result will be the amount of development that you sort of reverse engineer and put in by deciding that how much you want to work them, if that makes sense. Because of this importance I place on these muscle groups, I wouldn't skip them any more than I would skip chest or back, which might seem heretical to the powerlifting mindset bros, or you only need the big tree and big compound bros. But what do you want? What are your priorities? Hope that's given some people food for thought. Obviously certain muscle groups like this have like a genetic ceiling that most people will have. Like not everyone's gonna be able to get like, I don't know what's the guy who came second in Mr. Olympia, Ramon Dino, like not everyone's gonna be able to get like 18-inch forearms or something like that. But for you personally, like from within person, which I think that's something like a lot of the science interpretation forgets, is like within person. For you, like you can grow a certain body part even if like your genetic ceiling is not as high as whoever genetic freak. But like for you personally, your body, insert X body part, can become more developed. And like if your priorities and goals is that you would like bigger X body part and it becomes more developed, even if it's not like at the genetic ceiling of like whoever, it's still more developed. You're still closer to your goal, and I can't see that like that would be a bad thing, that like even if you're never gonna have like 25-inch arms or whatever, like having bigger arms is towards your goal, towards your ideal physique. So I think it's still worthwhile for most people to train them, and maybe if you're like a really advanced lifter who's been lifting for 15 years, you're already close to that genetic ceiling. But like most people who watch any YouTube content, like just by the law of sort of averages or whatever you want to call it, majority of people are not going to be advanced lifters who are watching the content, who they're like sort of pushing this out to, or not pushing, but like who are seeing this and they're giving this information to. The majority of people are going to be beginners or like towards like intermediate, but like still early in their lifting careers. They're not going to be at this genetic ceiling that like someone who's lifting 15 years will be. So if there is development that can be there, and if you care about the body parts being more developed, you might hit your genetic ceiling on a certain body part earlier, but it's more developed. That's the sort of be all and end all of it. Like you're still growing it. It might be overdeveloped compared to the rest of your physique, but your personal priorities are it like in your let's say like 5th year of lifting, that you want bigger X body part and you like hit your genetic ceiling on that muscle group after 8 years of lifting. You might have other growth left in a lot of other body parts, but you have prioritized and got to the stage where you've maximally developed X body part. So I think it's worthwhile. So to wrap it back up and come full circle here, like I think if you're looking at it, like a lot of people's mindsets and like what they're aiming towards has been influenced by professional bodybuilding, which it's an extrinsic motivation and goal. It's not an intrinsic thing that you desire. So I would like if more people like sort of looked within themselves and asked what they want out of their training and what your priorities personally are, and focus on that yourself. Reconstruct your program to get to those goals and priorities. For me, like I forearms and neck are two of your most visible muscles at like all times. They're two of the highest like bang for buck muscle groups that if they look jacked, you in general throughout life, like they get the most eyes on them, so you will look more jacked in general. I appreciate it if you liked and subscribed for when future videos come out and I discuss more topics like this.